If you've ever written a single line of code, you've used a variable. But have you ever stopped to think about what a variable really is? Most of us learn a pretty simple story about them, but today, we're going to pull back the curtain and see what's actually happening inside your computer's memory. It's cooler than you think. So that brings us to the big question for this whole explainer. When you type something like x equals 10, what is the computer actually doing? Is it, finding a little empty box and shoving the number 10 inside? Or is there something way more clever going on behind the scenes? All right, to get to the truth, we first have to talk about the idea that almost everyone learns first. Let's call it the myth of the box. It's not a bad place to start, but as we're about to see, it doesn't quite tell the whole story. You've probably heard this a million times, right? The variable myvar is a container. It's a box. And when you assign a value to it, like the number 10, you're literally putting that value inside that named box. Super simple. Makes sense on the surface. But this is where that whole box idea starts to feel a little off. If you change the variable's value later on, what happens? Do you just open the box, throw out the old number, and drop a new one in? I mean, for a machine that's all about being efficient, that seems kind of clunky, doesn't it? So I want you to completely forget about boxes. Let's try our brand new analogy. We're going to take a little trip inside the memory museum. This is going to get us way closer to how your computer is actually thinking about your data. And here it is, side by side, the big reveal. On the left, you've got the old box myth, swapping out the contents. But on the right, that's the reality. A variable isn't the container at all. It's just a simple, movable label. We're not changing what's in the box. We're just moving the label to a whole new box. That one little change in thinking is everything. Okay, so let's build out this museum idea. First up, the value itself, the piece of data, like the number 10. I want you to think of that as a masterpiece painting. We're talking the Mona Lisa. It's priceless, it's one of a kind, and it's permanent. You would never, ever paint over it. The Mona Lisa just is. Now, where do you keep the Mona Lisa? Not in some cardboard box, right? No way. You put it in a high-tech, super secure locker that's part of the museum itself, and that's our memory location. These lockers already exist. Each one has its own unique serial number, and they're built to keep our masterpieces, our values, safe. So what's the variable in all of this? It's not the painting. It's not the locker. It's just a sticker. Yep, that's it. A simple little label that you can peel off and stick on the outside of any locker you want. It's a shortcut so you can find what's inside without having to remember that crazy long serial number. Okay, theory's cool, but let's actually see this work. We've got our museum, we've got our priceless art, we've got our lockers and our sticky labels. Let's watch how they all come together with some real code. All right, follow me on this. Step 1, we say myvar1 equals 10. The computer puts our Mona Lisa painting into a locker and slaps the myvar1 label on it. Easy. Now, step 2, we make a new variable, myvar2, and also set it to 10. Does the computer paint a second Mona Lisa? Of course not. It just walks over to the same locker and adds a second label, myvar2, right next to the first one. Now for the magic. Step 3. We change myvar1 to 20. We don't touch that first locker. Instead, we grab a totally different painting, The Last Supper, put it in a new locker, and then we just peel off the myvar1 label and move it to this new spot. And this is the most important part. After we move that first label, what happened back at the original locker? Absolutely nothing. The Mona Lisa, our value 10, is still perfectly safe, and the myvar2 label is still pointing right at it, completely unaware that anything ever changed. And hey, you don't have to just take my word for it. We can actually prove it. In a language like Python, we can ask for the unique ID of the locker, the memory address. And look at this. When both variables are set to 10, they have the exact same locker ID. It's not a copy. They are literally two labels pointing to one location. And then the grand finale. After we change myvar1 to 20, boom. Look at its locker ID now. It's a completely different number. The label moved. But what about myvar2? Its ID is exactly the same as before. It's still pointing right at that original locker where the number 10 is stored. That right there is the proof. So you might be thinking, okay, that's a neat trick, but who cares? Boxes, labels, what's the big deal? Well, it's actually a huge deal. Understanding this changes how you think about what your code is doing. For one thing, it's all about efficiency. The computer saves a ton of space by not making copies of data all the time. It just adds more labels. It also explains how different parts of your code can look at the same piece of info without messing it up for everyone else. And honestly, getting this idea down now is going to be the foundation for so many more advanced topics you'll run into later. This quote really just nails it. The paintings, our values, 10 and 20, are permanent. They're always there, safe in their lockers. We never destroy a value. We just move the sticker. So we've peeled back just one little layer today. We found out a variable isn't a box at all. It's just a simple label. And that kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? If something that fundamental isn't quite what it seems on the surface, what else are we using every day that has a secret life of its own?